Welcome back to Definitely Not Definitive. I'm Ken.
And I'm Bethany.
And we're just a fantabulous couple in love that loves reacting to some Fallout.
It's time for Fallout.
Yeah, and so we're checking out Fallout Storyteller series. This is season 4, episodes 9 and 10. So we're doing the Synth and An Uncertain Future. Ooh. Yeah, if you want all of our Fallout reactions, check out the description of this video. We got a playlist there for you. We covered more than just the Storyteller series for Fallout. We've done like the vaults and whatnot. And you can get early ad-free access as we're finishing up this series. You can get about a month ahead over on Patreon. The link is in the description of this video. You'll get early access not just to Fallout, but to all the other reactions we have here on Definitely Not Definitive Games.
Yeah.
And because it's Fallout,
we have a drink. This is our Stimpack Spritzer, and it's called that because it has a Stimpack, which you add. And then you give it a little stir, and then you cheers. It's okay. It's okay.
No, Fallout and Bucky.
It's okay.
Gather round.
Well, Edna doesn't like dogs.
I've got a public service announcement.
He has a reason.
What if I told you there was this modification you can get that adds a certain radio station to your Pip-Boy? What if I also told you that this station was playing more songs than GNR, Radio New Vegas, and Diamond City Radio combined?
I'd say sign me up.
And what if I was the DJ? Does that sound like something you'd want to listen to?
I like this music.
World Tunes provides a 24-hour broadcast for even the most downtrodden wanderer. Billy, Ella, Crosby, the Ink Spots, and more are at your disposal. I'm your chatty disc jockey, the Storyteller, and I'm dedicating this one to you, personally.
Aw.
Nice. Station with education.
Ours was not the first civilization to dream up the idea of androids so lifelike they can mimic the complexity of humans. Alchemists, aristocrats, and scientists contracted a fever for early robotics. In Renaissance Italy, Leonardo da Vinci sketched plans for a mechanical knight in shining armor, run completely autonomously. And even earlier than that, 400 years before Christ, the Greeks spun tall tales about Talos, a giant forged from bronze by Hephaestus, the god of technology. Yup, the Institute wasn't the first to dabble in such ideas, but they're certainly the first to succeed on such a scale. Humans are little more than machines, really. We depend on an intricate system of processes to complete even the most menial tasks.
True.
Perhaps it's this understanding of ourselves that has led some of us to play God, one machine building another. The Institute has created 3 distinct generations of automata that I know of. The first generation synthetics are rudimentary creations patterned after the human silhouette. The central processing unit and visual receptors are located inside the head, with a power cell in the torso, a brain and a heart, if you will. Artificial limbs are actuated by high-strength tensile fibers, and despite their primitive appearance, they allow for fine manipulation of small objects. Of course, as a very old platform, their core software is prone to bugs and unexpected behavior. The data dump contains plenty of references to pathfinding errors and the need to constantly update instructions. The first-generation synth served as the basis of the second-generation model, and is still, in fact, fundamentally the same unit as its predecessor. However, a host of hardware and software upgrades resulted in a dramatic improvement in performance. The most apparent is the thick, rubber-like skin covering the second-generation synth.
It almost looks scary.
Mounted to a fine mesh that mimics the general body and shape of a human. It protects the internal hardware, allowing the Institute to deploy second gens on the surface without worrying about the environment as much. At this stage, second gens are the most plentiful type of synth at the Institute's disposal, and the backbone of its combat operations. Limited in the brains department, but cheap to manufacture and field in large numbers. Later models get uniforms and armor. Older ones get dumped naked with a gun. Unlike humans or third-generation synths, these just keep coming until you dismantle them permanently. Third-generation synths are the holy grail of android technology, indistinguishable from that of a human being, inside and outside. They can pass for regular humans with ease. And short of a DNA analysis compared against the Institute's own records or dissection of brain tissue, they cannot be separated from the population.
They get cloned with underwear on.
The synthetic tissue is virtually indistinguishable from human. Extrapolating from what I know, the Institute isn't growing them, but rather assembling them. Prefabricated bones serve as the scaffolding, which is then covered in soft tissue. The absence of irregularities indicates organs, muscles, tendons, the whole 9 yards are woven onto the skeleton. Then it's a matter of jump-starting the body and growing the synthetic skin on top of everything. And that just creates the canvas. Judging by the variety in synthetic faces we've encountered, each synth is then processed and tailored for a specific task. This includes, but is not limited to, facial reconstruction, voice box alteration, changes in body shape, and of course, reprogramming. I believe that is the most insidious element of a third-generation synth. A body of a human married to a mind that can be rewritten like a holodisk. The structure of a synthetic brain appears to be the same as the structure of a human brain. However, unlike the human brain, the contents of a synth's noggin can be modified with the use of Institute technologies. This allows them to create near-perfect replicas of humans they abduct, effectively copying the contents of their neural pathways in addition to whatever programming the Institute sees fit to add on top of it. A human rights violation if I ever heard one. Imagine everything that you are dissected, copied, and put to work for the Institute. And if anything backfires, the synth's mind can be wiped and reprogrammed with new contents. This is the same process the Railroad uses to disguise synths it takes from the Institute. Memories of the Institute are removed or otherwise suppressed and replaced with a new identity. Though from what I understand, a synth may refuse this treatment and take their chances without the benefit of anonymity. Built into the synth's mind are also emergency fail-safes the Institute can fall back on. With the right phrase, a third-generation synth can be rendered inert. The drawback is that each synth has to be physically present and hear the phrase in its entirety. Rather than shutting down the synth, the Institute can also remotely remove the personality and all of a synth's safeguards, setting it loose on the unsuspecting populace. The worst part is that, to my knowledge, there's no way of protecting a synth against this kind of remote interference. If an infiltrator were to make his way into the heart of the Pridwin and then be set loose, I could scarcely imagine the kind of damage it can do to our operations in the Commonwealth. Coupled with the virtual invisibility of an infiltrator, the ability to replace anyone in the field, a third-generation synth is the worst operational security nightmare in history. Almost perfect camouflage, superior physique, and seemingly unwavering loyalty. I'll be honest, even if a synth has gone rogue, there's no way of verifying that. The Institute has mastered the art of perfidy and warfare, and it could be an elaborate ruse. Which means that should a third-generation synth be detected within the Brotherhood of Steel, even a rogue one, well, I'd rather not think about it. You know, Edna, I feel like I'm getting old. This isn't a war like the ones fought before.
I'm getting too old for
this
shit.
There are no visible front lines, not like with the Enclave or Raiders. It's enough to make you feel tired. After all these years of traveling, learning, study, I feel like I don't know anything. Perhaps that's what enlightenment feels like. The Commonwealth is beautiful this time of day, and looking out, you can see the flames of civilization ebbing and flowing. If the synth creation has taught me something, it's that you never know when the seed of an old idea will finally bloom. Perhaps somewhere out there is the seed of a new nation, a new Commonwealth. But that is a story for another day.
Okay, so my first question is for the radio station. Is that just something in the game that they added, like a mod you can do, and now you can get like the radio station for the Storyteller? So that's pretty cool. Also, like the synths, I mean, they use like regular human bones, right, to make the skeleton, and then they sort of artificially do everything else.
I'm not entirely sure. I think that's what I was hearing.
I thought that's what I was understanding as well. So then, like, they're not metal underneath. So I mean, like, for all intents and purposes, they pretty much are human. And just their mind is like basically a computer that can be programmed. Other than coming out jacked, like they don't have like superhuman strength or anything like that because of like machine, like, you know, being like metal underneath,
like
you know,
Terminator or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like they can still, like their arms can still be broken and stuff, and you know, I was just curious about that.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I think my brain was just kind of stuck on the idea of synthetic humans and the fact that I do think we're going to see them in our lifetime, especially now that we have AI, depending on what the evolution with that is. Because, you know, we've talked about that before on the show, how like for everything and every new technology and invention, especially there's like a light and a shadow side. And that's very true for AI. And whether it is used for our benefit or for harming humanity is really going to be determined over the course of the next probably 5 years in terms of who's actually put in charge of creating it, managing it, what laws and legislation are going to put guardrails in. But once we have AI as part of our everyday existence, the next evolution is obviously going to pair that with robotics. And so I do think synths are something we could see in our lifetime. And I think as I was watching this, my imagination was just going wild with like, but for what purpose? Why will we have them? I mean, obviously, like sex robots come to mind, right? Because like there are already
clearly, yes,
robots out there. So like that's where I'm like, okay, obviously that's where that's gonna go. But like, what else, you know? And then I think of Detroit Become Human and like those who need assistance for like living if they have a disability or due to age and you know, various other tasks that we might have synthetic humans doing alongside us or for us at some point in the future. And I don't know, my brain was just going all over the place with that. All right, who's the pirate in the thumbnail?
I know, right?
Pour me a shot of vodka, Vadim, and a Nuka-Cola to chase it with. That Russian shit is strong. I gotta get out of this place, man. I know I'd said I'd settle down, but Diamond City just isn't for me. Have you read the paper lately? People are running off to the Institute to become robots, and
Every
now
bartender,
giant
all they do
metal
is just
war
clean.
balloons are flying around too. The world just makes no goddamn sense anymore. Sorry if I sound tense, it's just that, well, I moved to the Great Green Jewel for a sense of security, but these walls have me feeling more and more like a caged animal. In times like this, you really want to know what the Commonwealth reminds me of?
It reminds me of New California.
Excuse me?
New California, a crucible of nations. Forgive me for waxing poetic, but just look at it. Like New California, it has all the ingredients. Warring factions, high stakes. Yes, these are uncertain times, but the Commonwealth is made of sterner stuff, and it has everything that it needs to develop well into the future. There's no less than 3 major settlements in downtown Boston, surrounded by dozens of smaller settlements. Look at Diamond City, for instance. Out of the ruins of Fenway Park emerged a town with a vibrant economy, electricity, farms, water, even a military force. Every child has the right to an education, and even with the fear of synths founded and prejudice against ghouls unfounded, it's rightfully the green jewel of the Commonwealth.
Buddy, listen, I appreciate the dose of optimism. Truly, I do. But I just came here to drink and vent a little. Now, if you excuse me,
You don't see it? Let me explain further why I believe this could be the next wasteland nation. The Commonwealth's dwellers are a hardy breed, unlike what lions had to work with back in the capital wasteland. Take ghouls. Around the capital, that probably huddle underground, perhaps beg for water outside cities, or try to exact misguided revenge on a random settlement. Here, they dig in and work to make a place for themselves. Are you familiar with the
Some great
slog?
improv work.
The ghouls settled
Object
there and
work.
turned an old resort into a tarberry farm. Industry, smarts, vision, which you need to put a nation together. And if the slog's not enough, how about Good Neighbor? Built by Diamond City outcasts in downtown Boston. A place for those nobody else wanted. It's ruled by a self-made government that could be called a gang if it didn't
These
truly have
empires
the best
revolutionary.
interests of the people of Good Neighbor at heart.
Hmm.
And then there's the third tip of the Boston Triangle, Bunker Hill. I'm sure you've been there, with the battle monument jutting out towards the sky. Just another survivalist settlement out there in the city? I don't think so. Anyone with eyes can see it for what it is. A central location laying near all the major trading routes in and out of the city. A lifeline connecting it with the world. Everyone knows how vital it is to keep around, even the raiders. Yeah, this is the foundation for a nation. All it needs is a leader, and history has a way of providing such people, especially in times such as these. A great influencer who appears at the right time and in the right place. Like the Vault Dweller when he eliminated the Master and shielded Shady Sands from raiders, paving the way for the NCR. Or President Tandy guiding it to greatness. Elder Rhombus, who brought the Brotherhood to the zenith of their power and influence. The Chosen One, Courier, Ulysses, Caesar, Robert House. I could go on and on.
Yeah, he will.
Don't.
And that's not to say the Commonwealth hasn't come close before. The Minutemen tried to carry the light into the long night, only to fall to Mirelurks, petty infighting, and the Gunners. But that was a while ago, and word has it the Minutemen are regrouping. It could be nothing, just the last gasp of a dying ideal, or it could be a renaissance. A resurgence that will lift this land to something greater. For all our sakes, I hope the latter to be true.
This guy won't shut up. I can't just leave. For all I know, he'll get upset and throw me through the wall with that super suit. Oh, I know. I'll just stare blankly at nothing until he goes away.
I know what you're probably thinking. What about the Brotherhood? Well, I want the Brotherhood to prevail against the Institute.
He doesn't need anyone to talk
But
to.
rulers of the Commonwealth? That's not really our business. At least I hope it isn't. Only time will tell, though, if this Arthur wants to play king. If the Brotherhood defeats the Institute, it'll be the biggest force left in the region. If Maxon wanted, he has the resources to build a formal nation for the first time in the history of the Brotherhood. Our technology combined with the know-how will certainly make it tempting for him. If the Institute is erased, I have a feeling that Kells wouldn't be big on keeping the Railroad around. The Railroad hates the Brotherhood, and I can certainly understand why, given Maxon's attitude towards synths. And while they aren't a major problem in the long term, their experience in subterfuge makes them a dangerous foe. They have survived against the Institute, and they will survive against the Brotherhood if given the chance, perhaps even strike back. I can't help but wonder what the Commonwealth would look like under the Railroad. A shadowy organization like that could stealthily strike out at all they deem oppressors. After all, once they run out of synths to help, do you think they'll just disband? I'm not so sure. Then there's the possibility that the Institute will break us all, which is a very real possibility given their technological advantage.
That's gonna clean a spot on the bar.
An adult beverage is probably the proper response. I'll have what he's having.
I have to figure out his
Fair warning, though.
name of a real bar
I've been
in
told
Boston.
that alcohol makes me a bit chatty.
Show me.
Where was I? Ah, yes, the Institute. I think the Institute taking over the Commonwealth would be... Well, let's put it this way. I might have to relocate. Imagine the entire Commonwealth ran like a big vault experiment. Everyone in it just lab rats, running whatever sick and twisted maze the Institute devises for them. Even when the current director dies and another takes his place, I very
Interesting
much doubt
chairs.
the autonomous divisions would change their philosophy that much to see the Wastelanders as actual people.
It's supposed to be like a spine.
What if I just ran?
What it makes me think of.
Could he catch me?
I shudder to think about the consequences in the days to come. But the benefit of being a historian is that your duty isn't necessarily to shape events, but rather to record them. Whatever direction the Commonwealth takes, I'll be there to record it for posterity. That's not my responsibility as a sworn brother, but as a concerned citizen of the Wasteland. He who has the means to preserve the lessons of the past should, and more importantly, share it with those who will listen. Wouldn't you agree? Every time.
You brought up an interesting question with the railroad. Like, if they would, as soon as they freed all the synths, if they like got their mission or whatever, what then? Would they stop, or would they find, another sort of injustice to right? I don't know. I don't think they would. I think he's right that you can't stop. Like, it's the whole thing with, when people go on revenge, and it's just like, that's all you know. Once you get it, what are you gonna do then? It's very rare that, like, at least in the stories that we see, like, it's very rare that it's just like, okay, revenge, I'm at peace now.
Well, I think, yeah, if you've made it your life's purpose, which is what often happens in these stories, like everything else, every other objective or priority in your life falls away for the sake of the revenge. So if that becomes your life's purpose and your driving force, you really can't give that up so easily. People who lack purpose in life are the ones who often are prone to depression, to drugs and addiction and various other things, because, like, it feels good to have a reason to get up in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, like, your life's purpose has to be whatever your current job is. Your life's purpose could be taking care of your dogs. It could be your marriage and making your spouse happy. Like, it could be a variety of things, but, like, you have a reason to get out of bed. And if it happens to be revenge, well, then that's what it is. But I think, the loss of that has serious impact on one's mental and emotional health. So definitely not something you can part with so easily.
So you think they would continue as well? The railroad would continue even with, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree.
I love the fact that we have a revolutionary
synth or whatever, or no,
not synth,
ghoul?
Yes, ghoul. I want to say gargoyle, and I knew that was wrong. That we have a revolutionary ghoul in Boston. I just think that's fantastic. That makes me happy. I love the storyteller being that guy in the bar. Because that is what he's been this whole time, right? He's been that guy in the bar, but now they actually put him as that guy in the bar. So that was fun, and I liked the commentary, like sort of the inner monologue of the guy he was talking to, like, dude, I just want to sit here and drink, like, go away. So that was just a fun injection of humor into this. And also a really good way to tell the story. We're used to seeing the storyteller, like, around the fire or finding some random person on the road or talking to Edna. So this was just a new environment for him to have his time to share a story. Yeah,
like the part where he's just like, I'm just going to stare at this wall. Because, like, that also brought in like video games and just like seeing NPCs just like, kind of staring at nothing, not really interacting. It was well done. Yeah. And that bartender definitely cleaned that one spot on the bar really well. So yeah, they're either cleaning the bar or they're cleaning a glass or something like that. Always. It's just like everything and everything always, which is not what bartenders do. I wish my bartenders would clean that often. That's so typically an actor thing, right? Like, the actor needs to have a piece of business. So when you're playing the bartender, your piece of business is, I'm going to clean glass, or I'm going to clean the bar. Yeah. But, like, if you go to an actual bar, often, like, the cleaning happens at the beginning of the shift and the end of the shift. And then in between, they're either talking to customers, placing orders, or they're on their phones. Yeah. And that's what it is. Let us know what you thought about this down below in the comments. And if you want early ad-free access to our Fallout Storyteller reactions, check out the description of this video because we got a link to Patreon there. You can get about a month ahead on our Fallout reactions and on other reactions here on Definitely Not Definitive Games. Yeah. Thanks so much for checking out our reaction for the Storyteller Fallout Season 4, Episodes 9 and 10, but just keep in mind that our reaction is definitely not definitive.